How close is LeBron into getting in the discussion with MJ for the greatest of all time?
He's getting closer. Look, once upon a time after the Dallas Mavericks series where I saw LeBron choke in 4 fourth quarters, I saw him choke. He didn't want the ball. Didn't want it. There's a difference between passing to the open teammate and abdicating responsibility. And he was abdicating responsibility against that Dallas team. I saw that. I said, the Jordan ship has sailed forever. And then he started winning championships. And then he took his game to another level. And then he showed the ability to get different groups of guys to come together and lead them to the finals year after year after year. And then without Kevin Love or Kyrie Irving, when the second best player on the team was Matthew Dellavedova, he took an excellent Warriors team, 6 games in an all-time great finals performance, and then followed that up the next season with the greatest comeback in the history of the NBA against the greatest regular season team in the history of the NBA. And I thought, okay, LeBron, now that ship has sailed, but now it's turning around, maybe coming back to port. Because, Stephen A., there are different ways you can define greatness. Has LeBron's peak hit Jordan's? No. By no objective measure, even PER, stuff like that, all that stuff says Jordan's peak was a little bit higher. Jordan's career was a little bit higher on average, and LeBron hasn't even really gone into the severe decline phase of his career, which will mean the gap of their peaks will widen. Also, Jordan played 15 seasons, 2 of them after a retirement and a comeback with the Wizards. Really 13 seasons with the Bulls. LeBron's already in his 14th season. So when you compare them season to season, Jordan, once he got to the height, to his peak, basically never didn't win the finals again in under 7 games. But there is a way to define greatness, Stephen A., like this. I'm drafting a team. I'm drafting players in the beginning of their careers. My objective is to win as many championships as possible. And LeBron's not done, and maybe he's not nearly done. Whereas Jordan took 2 years away in the middle of his prime. They didn't win the championship, and then retired and came back with the Wizards when he wasn't Michael Jordan anymore. Whereas LeBron just keeps going and going and going. Who's the greatest player of all time? Michael Jordan. Do I think LeBron will catch him? No. But Stephen A., he has played his way back into the conversation. The conversation was over. And now the conversation has opened up again due to LeBron James's play.
That depends on how you look at it. The very, very thing that you think adds credence to one's greatness, I think can also contribute to taking away from it. Let's go down the list. For example, LeBron James is in Cleveland. We know that LeBron James is ultra talented, just like Kevin Durant is ultra talented. Just because you're arguably the most talented doesn't mean you're the best. There's a lot of components that go into being the best. One's your talent, the other's your leadership, the other's your ability to withstand duress and fight through it and work through it and ultimately get yourself to the promised land. Do I think LeBron James is one of the greatest? Absolutely. Do I think that LeBron James should be on the Mount Rushmore of NBA annals when all is said and done? Probably. I also consider him the greatest small forward to have ever played the game of basketball, and that includes Larry Bird, even though I would want Larry Bird with the ball in the last minute, you know, as opposed to LeBron. Having said all of that, here's what we have to take into consideration. LeBron leaving Cleveland to go to Miami to join 2 stars in times in the Chris Bosh and D. Wade. LeBron leaving from South Beach to go back to Cleveland and bringing about 5 or 6 starters from other teams with him, for crying out loud. Those are the kind of things that we can't ignore either. We also have to remember that the maturation process that it took him to get to this point, MJ had it from the first time he was in the finals. So did Kobe to a lesser degree. And speaking of Kobe, whereas LeBron came into the league at age 18, Kobe came at age 17. LeBron was an instant starter. Kobe Bryant was coming off the bench. LeBron James was the chosen one. Kobe was not only coming off the bench, but Kobe had to work his way up, being a 6th man and ultimately being a starter, and then being the second fiddle behind Shaquille O'Neal and adapting to all of those things before he became the man. So there's a level of duress. There's a terrain that he had to maneuver his way through in order to elevate himself to being arguably the 2nd greatest off guard in the history of basketball, behind Michael Jordan in some people's eyes. All of those things are things that we have to take into consideration when we start talking about LeBron James being the GOAT. And also, while we keep that in mind, Max, let's also remember why we're having this conversation. It's not just because of LeBron James, it's because of the greatness we anticipate we will see from the Golden State Warriors. What if the Golden State Warriors get to the finals and wet the bed? What if suddenly they can't hit open shots? What if suddenly you see them
LeBron will
shivering?
get credit for that if that happens. If that happens, LeBron will get credit for it.
Wait a minute. Not for people who know basketball. Because if you're watching basketball and I'm watching basketball and we see palms getting sweaty and backsides getting tight and dudes getting nervous and all of this other stuff, and we see them becoming something different than we know them to be, it's not just about whether you win or lose. It's about me watching the heat of competition, recognizing you're at your best, I'm at my best.
I want to address a lot of what you said.
As opposed to who panicked.